Oh, what's happened there? What?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another live show. I'm here with Diluted Gunner, of course. We're just going to jump straight in. We're going to talk about Porto because it's another deeply unserious performance and result away from home in Europe. Um, I would love to say that I'm like surprised, but I'm not. I'm not surprised. It just from minute one, it felt like the jitters were there. We couldn't pass the ball to each other. We're making mistakes. But I want to get your like vision of it. Like, were you surprised? Like, how do you feel? How do you feel? Like, was it just an off day? Was it something you've seen before? Were we not prepared? Were we overly like over prepared? Like, what do you think? What are your feelings on it?
I think it was. I think it's a bit of everything. Apart, I'd agree with a bit of everything you said. Apart from preparation, I do think Arteta and the boys were prepared. I do think there was a bit of nerves, whether that's because we're into the knockout stage of the Champions League and they ain't done it before, and the connotations with that is another thing. Maybe it was the atmosphere, maybe it was the team. I just feel it was disappointing because we disappointed ourselves, man. If I'm completely honest with you, yeah, we had all the possession, as you know, Jess. It's what you do with the ball that makes all the difference. We had all the shots on target, but what did we really make of that? Didn't exploit set pieces. Obviously, credit to Porto. They were very street smart. People are going to sit here and say, oh, they weren't attacking and all of this sort of stuff. They had the two best opportunities of the game. They ultimately scored and they hit the post before that. And we played into their hands. It was very street smart. They were compact, they were organized, they were narrow, they limited the space. Obviously, they really clocked very early that this ref could go for anything, and they played on that, disrupting our rhythm. So yeah, I also feel we played into our hands, and I've said it on your stream before, and I think we've watched several games where with the personnel we have available because of the consequences of injuries, these we sign up for certain things. I do like the fact that Mikel Arteta can recognize his players' strengths and weaknesses. Kirill can't really do the inverted thing. He's playing like a traditional left back. So Benjamin White's inverting. But where Benjamin White's inverting, we're already congested. He's not really bringing anything. Saka's now having to drop to the halfway line. Kai Havertz, he's not really interested or has the ability to really, be that deep line midfielder. So he's making a third man run, but we're not hitting him. So his limitations already highlighted. Odegaard, probably the only one I would say played anything close to good, but him and Declan Rice are having to take on the next man's job. Ultimately, our left hand side is poor. Martinelli's not bringing anything to the table. Trossard looked like a wet puppy. I think even Saliba looked a bit shaky, and the goal just highlights our naiveties. I'm not blaming Martinelli, Raya, or Declan Rice. Whoever could have stopped it, it had a hand, and even if that people want to blame them, there's obviously 90 other minutes to account for, but it just showed our naiveties, especially with Martinelli. I'd see what he tried to do. Had that pass come off, we might have scored and it would have been a great kind of turn of play, but he's lost the ball. We've let one of the most informed players in the Porto team and in the Champions League have a shot. He's bought a raffle ticket. He's won the lottery. So that's why we lost. So very disappointing, man. Very.
Yeah, for sure. Like everything that you said made so much sense. And like the main thing that I like ended the game, I was like, we just look so immature, like you said. Like there was just like a total lack of like just like kick it. Like I don't know why in the last seconds, dying embers of the game, we're trying to do like a wonder pass instead of just kicking it down the pitch. And it's just like that lack of like like awareness from Martinelli that was a little bit like, oh my gosh, but it's not just him. I felt like the whole game was just naive. Like we definitely fell into the referee's trap every single time that they called like a foul. We got more and more petulant as the game went on, which I think took us out of our like mental state. Like everything about it was just like, what the fuck, And I just feel as though like I've seen this before from Arsenal in Europe, like no matter who it is, like against Olympiacos, like something very similar at home. It was like David Luiz and Leno find a way to mess up just kicking the ball into the stands, and they get a corner and then they score, and then we're out of the Europa League. So it's kind of like no matter who it is, there's like a sense of like just lack of street smart, like you said, in this Arsenal side. And your possession game is not going to get you through European matches. It's just not. And, obviously they've been doing a lot of talking, Porto. I don't know if that's like just a part of their, I don't know if they talk all the time, but their goalkeeper coming out and talking before the game, their manager just straight up saying that Arsenal wanted to play, we wanted to win. Like they know that 90% of the time we're going to win the games, but we came up against our 10% where it's a team in like a mid block and they make sure that we can't get in between the lines. They know we're not going to go direct and they just stifle us from being able to do our patterns. And it was really disappointing to see that like there is like a real like map of how to stop Arsenal from doing what they do best. Fulham figured it out. Like a couple of teams have been able to figure it out against us this season, but we don't seem to have an answer. And I guess like that's where my next question for you is like, should Arteta have made any tactical tweaks to make us better or more cute and like small, like there was just nothing other than like the same patterns. Like we kept trying to do the same things and we weren't getting any results. Do you think Arteta could have tactically done something different?
I mean, it's a bit of a double-edged sword because I like the fact that we stick to our principles. Even with Martinelli, you made that mistake on another occasion that will happen. But these experiences, you need to go through them. The best teacher in life is life, innit? And the harsh realities, and football is a reflection of that. Martinelli is going to have to learn. I guess so. Mikel Arteta is going to have to, watch the game several times with his coaching staff and find some tweak. But then I would say, what would it be? Because we've added that direct approach and being able to exploit set pieces, which we didn't do. So that one's out of the window based on the players available, which again, Arteta has to take responsibility for that because we don't have available players, we don't have the squad, and we don't really have certain players that can fill into boots that key players vacate. So yeah, really and truly, you probably do need to change things, but his hands are tied for his own fault of his own, because what else are you going to do? You could have maybe started Jorginho. I was screaming for Jorginho to come off the bench. When he did come off the bench, to be fair, he was trash as well. So yeah, probably. But this is what I've been saying on your platform when you've got Kyrgios, when you've got Kai Havertz, and I'm not just making it about them, they're limited footballers, really and truly. A big reason as to why we waffle about fullbacks is how they get involved. Zinchenko could have played and made a mistake, and it's always the players that aren't involved. If we had Zinchenko inverted, we've got another body in midfield. Maybe that allows Odegaard to stay slightly further up. Maybe someone could find Kai Havertz. Had we have had Thomas Partey, maybe Odegaard's further up the field. Had we have had a striker, maybe they could have made an opportunity for themselves and score, even though I don't necessarily feel that because, you look at the West Ham game at the Emirates, ultimately we had a lot of possession. That game was very different because you could sit there and say, you know what, you had a striker, they might be able to do a thing. Yesterday wasn't that. Like, what did we really create? We had a couple, Trossard hit a couple into the stands. There was a couple of missed-time headers. What really did we create? Ultimately, if you don't defend well enough from minute 1 to 90 and you don't create chances, you can have as much possession as you want, have your philosophy as much as you want, but football's about putting the ball in the back of the net. It's a complex yet very simple game. So this is why we're having the conversation we're having right now, just really. So yeah, he could have probably done something, but I wouldn't know what to tell you specifically. I think it comes down to what we did or didn't do in the summer and indirectly in Jan.
Yeah, it's like because a lot of people like after the fact are like, well, why didn't he trust his bench? I'm like, you guys seriously look at the bench. Like genuinely look at the bench. Like I think there's a bigger conversation to be had that we're going into very important games in the Champions League and players have not come back from whatever mystery injury that they have. I said a couple of weeks ago that, yeah, like I see that some people are missing, but if they're not there on February 21st, then they're so fucking unserious. It's ridiculous. And they were not available, So when you look at the bench and you see, like, no offense, like Emil and Reese and Kedia, genuinely, do you actually think those players are going to make a difference? Probably not. Like
But
the
that's where
one
Arteta's gonna have to like to go, sorry to cut you, but to
no,
go
go
to what
ahead.
you said to go to what you said there, I feel you're right in that, if I'm Arteta, I'm looking at my benches. There's not really anyone that's gonna make a difference like that. But then I feel fans with context, I feel they're right there, because if you're not bringing in certain players and you're having this bench, then you have to trust them, or you trust them to a certain degree. It's not like it's Arteta's first year, man. Everybody who is in this team, whether he bought them or not, they're there because he believes can make a difference. So I think fans are actually fair with that comment, if I'm honest. And again, it comes back to, if I praise Arteta for how he's assembled the squad in certain moments, when we're having conversations like this, the manager has to take the blame, because ultimately the team's a reflection of the gaffer. If we're showing naiveties, if we're showing a lack of flexibility if on the pitch, if we're showing a lack of options off it, Edu, Arteta, and everyone who bangs under this whole collaboration thing has to take the L's as well as the W's, just for me, man.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I guess I'd just it's not really like I don't disagree. I'm just saying like it's not like he had high quality on the bench and
Yeah,
like they don't exist within the squad at all. Like I can understand if that was the bench, but we had like there was no Partey, Jesus, Zinchenko, Tommy. Like there was like 5 or 6 guys missing that genuinely, if there even 3 or 4 of them are on the bench, we're having a completely different conversation if he does not use them, does not trust them, or doesn't set up the team properly. So every team has about 2 or 3 players deep down on the bench that they genuinely don't want coming out there. And to me, that's the players that we listed. I think my main issue with the way that the team is set up is once again like players that are unavailable are too important to the team. Because I think
facts.
had we had picked our starting 11 going into this game, 3 of the players that weren't there would have been in that starting 11, maybe even 4 from some people, if depending on how you feel about Zinchenko. Those are major pieces missing. And it felt like we went into it like with very similar like setup as Fulham away, but instead of Kivior inverting, Ben White inverting, and it was like the same thing where we weren't creating chances, we weren't able to get past the halfway line. We were very like stodgy and stiff, and it was just like it was like a train wreck. It really was. It was like a very slow one too, because first 10 minutes, it was like, okay, maybe they'll shake off the nerves. But as like the game went on, the nerves seemed to set in and almost like infected everyone else. Players that were having decent touches started having bad touches as well. So listen, it's I can till I'm blue in the face be like, if we had this player, would have changed. But I still feel like you know, the team may not be set up the way that people want it to, but like genuinely some of the touches in that game were so bad that like I can't think past it. Like, what do you think that is? Like, what is it about when we get into these high leverage situations? Like, it feels like some games we can't even pass the ball to each other. That's just so strange because I don't, maybe it's because I don't watch other teams all the time, but I don't really see other teams have those types of games. Like, I
It's
don't
not.
see City and Liverpool and Real Madrid having games where they literally cannot trap a ball.
I mean, if they do, they have a good way of hiding it, man. I'd say I'm not really one for the nerves thing yesterday. I do think nerves played a part, and I can't say that
Mm.
it's not a bigger factor than whatever. But I'm of the belief that some of you boys have been here when it was a lot darker where Arsenal Football Club was concerned. Back to back apes, etc. Now we're kind of in the promised land.
Mhm.
Obviously, if we win, there's no headlines. If we lose, you can see the headlines. But I don't think it's a nerves thing. I just think football's a funny old game, and you're right. In the same way, positivity and good form is infectious negatively. All it takes is a few bad players to have dodgy touches, dodgy refereeing, seeing that. I think, there's been occasions this season that we've reacted well to moments like what we saw in Porto, not allowing us to play football. But when we needed it yesterday, it just wasn't there, really and truly, man. I would say I need everyone to stand up to be counted, really. It looked yesterday like everyone was looking at somebody else to be the
Yeah.
difference maker, which hasn't been the case too many times this season. So when that happens, we're having the conversations that we're having now, isn't it? I think it's as simple as that, really. It's a
Is
sad,
that
it's a sad
is
one.
that is that an indictment on some of the players that we really rate in our squad? Like when the sun is shining, they do well, but when backs are against the wall, sometimes they don't, especially like in cup competitions, they can't get us over the line. Is that an indictment on like the Odegaards and the Sakas and like and stuff like that?
I
I'm
think
just
it's
asking.
I think it's the manager, man. Like, because I feel,
Mm.
for someone that gets talked about not turning up away from home, I think Odegaard was one of our better players. I feel, Saka, yeah, there's legitimate claims in, you're the star boy. Could you make something? But I feel anyone that watched that game, our attack is not in the game. We're not giving the ball to our attackers to run in behind and ultimately be closer to the opposition's goal. So naturally, we'd all love Saka to have a moment where he dances past 4 or 5 players, but that isn't even a thing. I would say it's the manager, really and truly,
Mm.
because I do think one issue of Mikel Arteta is probably too trusting or slash naive in certain players. I'm not trying to keep mentioning the certain names, but if we're in the last, and to be honest with you, you look at probably in terms of performance, us winning 6-0 against West Ham, beating Liverpool and City, them results were achieved without necessarily our strongest team. But 9 times out of 10, players are in situations or in games that really and truly they should not be playing in. It's naivety, really. Porto did their homework. I don't want to keep mentioning Kirill because he weren't terrible, but in terms of offering something on the ball, clearly it became a case of we needed some more technical footballers yesterday. There's no Zinchenko because of the injury things. That's on the manager. Kirill isn't someone that, while his form's been all right, shouldn't be utilising him. Kai Havertz is not typically what we've become accustomed to as an Arsenal midfielder. But at the same time, if he's running in behind, find him. So I think it all comes back to the manager, if I'm honest with you. If nobody's been outstanding, yeah, the players have to take responsibility. But if everybody's been kind of crap, I have to look at Arteta and how I know you didn't set us up to play like that, but they did play like that. And if you did
Yeah.
set us up to do something differently, why wasn't it,
Why couldn't they?
implemented?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Why couldn't they get through that? Like, yeah, no, I get that. I feel like it felt like, I don't know, just I don't know. Did you notice that moment where like it was the very beginning of the game where when Declan got the yellow, that like
Mm.
right before that, him and Saka were like talking back and forth because like I just feel like because it was like the early moments of the game where it was like I feel like when they looked at how Porto were set up, they instantly were like, okay, what we were trying to do, like I'm not sure if it's gonna work. Because Saka didn't really come to. Declan was trying to find somebody to pass to. They were complaining to each other, and then whoever got the ball decided to pass it to Declan, even though he wasn't paying attention, and then he missed the ball and then he made that bad tackle. It just felt like whatever Porto were doing, it just it kind of like rattled us. Like we just were like, "Huh, okay. So now how do we get through?" It was very strange like from minute 1 and it's not something that we usually see. But maybe it was like a something from the manager like the way that he set them up like didn't match up well to get through against Porto because Porto just set up in a mid block and just didn't let us get to central spaces, which is our Achilles heel. But I would imagine at this point we should have figured out a way to get beyond it. Like it just, and especially after 90 minutes, you should figure out a way to get a shot on goal. That's like actually shocking that we didn't have a single shot on goal.
There you
Like,
have
and
it.
it wasn't like it went right past the post or anything. We genuinely were not attacking threat. Like that might have been our worst attacking game all season.
Right. Boy,
Had
that
to have
is
been.
quite disappointing, man. I mean, shift
Yeah,
happens, innit? It comes with the territory because
yeah,
obviously no two games are alike. But
yeah,
Newcastle we lost, but Newcastle were kind of doing the same things the way that Porto were doing. We found the way, but we didn't create anything. Shift happens, and
yeah,
it comes with the territory. If you're logically speaking, if my team is Arsenal and we play great football and we're playing Jess's team, why on God's green earth are you going to give me space? Are you going to let me play our game and have all the tempo and all of that? It's going to make your task of going through a lot harder, really and truly. Clearly, Porto's manager and Porto did their homework, or if he didn't, what the players were told at Porto and how they implemented versus Arteta is completely different. If I'm completely honest with you, like that's the jarring thing. I do think we need to find a way of because Arteta strikes me as someone, and obviously there's times where he's changed things and done things differently, but it's like he can plan for something all week. He can plan, it's like having an exam. He can plan for the topic around it. He goes to take that paper and it's a completely different topic, and there's
yep,
not really any sort of fallback plan. And I think it just comes down to the quality and certain depths in our squad and how the squad's being assembled, man. You sign up for certain things where, as you said earlier, if there's no Jesus, no Zinchenko, no Partey in games like this, we're seeing the absence. This is why I don't buy into the notion when fans will say, oh, Partey can't get back into the starting lineup, get rid of Zinchenko for all his faults. Beginning of the season, Tomiyasu, and even Gabriel when he's on the bench was seen as damaged goods. But you can see the levels, really. Certain players should not be playing in moments like this. If they
yeah,
do, this is what happens.
yeah. I mean, I do think it's like a reality check on like because I was just having this conversation with other people like genuinely like maybe 3 days ago about we're so much better without Jesus and Zinchenko, and I kind of laughed at it and played into it because I'm like, you know, genuinely you cannot be serious, but like it is funny that like we started winning like as soon as they were out the team. But the idea that there would not be games for those players is like genuinely laughable. Like I don't really like watching us play that much without Zinchenko. I've said that so many times, and I know people are, oh, but we concede. I'm like, yeah, but there's just a lack of penetrating passes and like tempo control without him. So
And the fact that we're saying this about a left back, as much as I agree with you and echo your point, the fact that we're saying this
also
about a left back
says something about the
with
midfield.
Arteta
Yeah, it says something
and
about the
midfield, yeah.
midfield and the way that we've assembled the midfield, that it feels like we have to have a left back come into midfield to feel like we have 3 players in there
But if we had
actually
that number 8,
midfielding. Exactly. So yeah, it's true. I feel like when you diagnose a lot of the problems that have happened this season or the disappointing results, a lot of them do go back to the decisions that were made over the summer. And despite being able to have like good results, which, you know, it doesn't mean that we were never going to come up against a team that sets up like this and we're going to struggle, because we definitely needed that extra body. So
there you have it.
hopefully some of these guys are come back for the next leg. But again, I don't hold my breath because they've been gone like the whole season. So it's like
There you have it.
I don't know what to tell you. That I don't know if they're going to come back, um, or if they'll be available. Do you have worries about the second leg? Because a lot of people, which is right, are saying like JJ saying like Gooners need to chill. Champions League is a 2-leg knockout, and it is. But I also feel like the way that we've been, unfortunately, under Mikel, is that no matter if we go into the leg at home with an advantage, no advantage, or behind, we tend to go out in the second leg, because I mean, that's against what? Olympiacos, against
Villarreal,
and Sporting,
yeah. Where the
doesn't
damage was
really
done in the
matter.
first leg. Keep saying
Yeah.
this.
So are you worried? Like, do you feel like where's your confidence level that we're gonna go through to the next round?
I mean, there's always going to be nerves. There's always going to be a lack of confidence in some regards because we're not in the driver's seat. If, we ain't got a 2-3 lead, we have to, again, at the Emirates, it might be different, but we're going to have to be rocking from the start. We're probably going to have to be a lot more attacking. I don't know if they're going to defend for their lives, get that sucker punch second goal. But I wouldn't say I'm nervous. At the end of the day, it's hard. The players have to shape their reality now. You're going out. It's as simple as that. You will be in it next year, but you're going out. So die
Yeah.
on your swords, really and truly, man. Like, I do think it'll be a different game. I think the players will have a bit between their teeth. Hopefully, a couple of players are back, but I can't say with confidence that we're going to score or get a second or a third. And ultimately, me and you will be sat here on another live stream laughing about this first-legged tie. Of course, there's a worry, man, because the sporting manager, sorry, it's not sporting, Porto manager has shown me he's very street smart. Like, he's very street smart. He sat out there and he said, "Oh, Arteta's from the school of Pep Guardiola about the thingy, possession-based football." So Arteta's going to have to do his homework as much as the players, man. But I want to see the first goal in that second leg. I want to see if
It
Arsenal
has to
do
come
concede it.
fast.
This
Like,
is
it
it.
literally has to
It's a
be like an
psychological battle,
early
man.
goal. That's my only worry, or my biggest concern, is if we don't score early, that the nervousness will creep in and the sucker punch is coming.
But
Like,
that's what even my
we have to
thing.
score
Like,
early.
even that, I do think we need to score early because their game plan's out the window. Hopefully, our fans are
Yep.
making noise in the players. But at the same time, it's nerves. If you do concede that second goal, theoretically, with the form you showed up until this point in the Champions League and generally in the league this season, shows you can score a couple of goals. I think it will be a mental test. I think it will really be a big mental test. Even if you're 2-0 down, I still think there's a reality you can go through. But like you said there, early goals are different. It's a different kind of game, and Arteta's gonna have to change things. Like, is it a game for Jorginho? I don't know what for a week's a long time in football, but is it a game for Jorginho? Is Jesus, Zinchenko, and/or Thomas Partey going to be fit? And if they are fit, are they fit enough to start? Even Tomiyasu, I don't know what's going on with him. We were sat here on our video saying, you know what, going into the West Ham game, we need you. Not a clue what's going on there, which again, Arteta signed up for this. You signed these players. You sit there and you look at your 20-man squad and say, if there is injuries, we've got enough to cope. Not just Arteta, but Edu as well. So you're gonna have to get on with it. It's as simple as that. You knew once January closed and February opened, this is the squad in the league, in the Champions League. This is all we've got to play for. Gonna have to get with it. But I think it's more of a psychological battle, like then it's a tactical thing, man. So we're gonna need to do our thing.
Yeah, I think 90% of the time when we go out of cup competitions, it's mental rather than the other team was just better. or you know, like I feel like their tactical setup obviously can either pose a bigger threat or not, but I've seen teams literally do nothing and beat us. So um for me it's all about whether or not they have the mental capacity to like go beyond just like playing through their patterns and actually just win the game. Like no matter what it looks like, no matter what like somebody has to step up. You know, they have to step up and not like wait for somebody else to do it. The players that are being paid, that are like everybody loves, the Sakas, the Odegaards, the whoever's, you're just gonna have to step up and get the job done. You
Every
cannot
player
go
is
out.
going to have to be a protagonist, man. From David
No.
Raya to, assuming it's the same team, from David Raya to Trossard. I mean, the Emirates has probably been. We've probably encountered more resilience on the road. There's been the Lutons and the Brentfords, but there's also been times, the last minute goal against City, the last minute goal against United. How we went into the Liverpool game off the back of bad form, ultimately losing in the FA Cup and then the league. They're gonna have to get with it, man. Everyone is gonna want to win their individual battles, man.
Yeah. Last question, kind of like on the game. Where do you kind of
Thank the
sit
Lord.
on? Huh?
Thank the Lord, man.
I know. Um, do you where do you sit on Raya needing to get to that shot? You know, this morning I wake up and all I see is like Ramsdale would have saved it, you know, comps of Ramsdale making saves. See, this is why Ramsdale should be playing, as if he didn't get chipped from halfway against Sporting. I don't get it. But what is your feeling on it? So should Raya do better, or is it just like a really, really good shot?
I mean, in relation to what you said with the fans, that's Arsenal fans reactionary, really and truly. Everyone's the worst player in the world. It's another game where Raya, again, I'm not really. It's not that I'm not convinced. I haven't been impressed by this traditional goalkeeping. Everything else has been decent. The one
Mm,
luxury I will give Raya is you're the last line of defense. That's what they say with a goalie. So I have to ask questions of what the midfield and the strikers, etc., and defenders are doing. I do think Raya's positioning is horrible. But as I said at the start,
mm,
it's a culmination of errors. We've lost the ball about 3 times in a close period. Martinelli's giving it away and showed his naivety. Where my man, that whoever his name is going to shoot. He's one of the most informed players in that Porto team and the champs. You must have done your homework. Why are you allowing him to shift it onto his right foot and not stopping it? And then obviously Raya's poor goalkeeping. So I think everyone's got to soldier it. And
mm.
ultimately, you could look at it simply and say, you know what, the players I've said and the others, they've made the mistake. We've lost the game. But that was in the dying embers of the game. That's in the 90th minute. Football's a 90-minute game. So if we want to blame these players, what are the other players doing across the duration of the game? So we all have to soldier it. But I think Raya had a hand to play, but I don't think he's alone. I think, even Declan Rice could have stopped the shot, or someone else. I don't know if psychologically Declan Rice being on the yellow, he thought, if I mistimed this, it's long for me. Martinelli's lost the ball as well. So, I
It was
think
like a
Raya's at
comedy of
blame to with
errors.
everyone. Pardon?
It's a comedy of errors
Yeah,
for
you
a
have
team
been.
that's in the last 30 seconds of the game. Like I said it during my watch along, like I was saying it from basically halftime. I was like, they're the most likely to score. If they do, it'll be at the very end of the game. And because we don't look like scoring, we will not score in this game. You can tell when Arsenal are not going to score. It's so obvious. I was
Yeah,
like, we're not
not
scoring.
creating nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And they're most likely to score. We should be 1-0 down. If we get through this with a 0-0, it's actually more that they'll probably be more disappointed than us because we really didn't deserve anything from it. And usually when Arsenal don't deserve anything from the game, they don't get it because we're not street smart enough to not lose even though we can't win. Like we just don't have that about us. Like I cannot remember the last time where we nicked a draw when we like really deserved to lose. And it's like we almost like what is it? It's like we manifest it like we're like we are going to lose this game. Like it's insane. Like everybody made a mistake in that passage, and before it happened, I was like, they're scoring here. Like it just was so obvious.
You play
Martinelli should
stupid
be
games, you
kicking
win
it.
stupid prizes, isn't it?
Yeah, Martinelli should be kicking it down the pitch. Like he just should, it's not just singling him out, but it's just I've seen that just so many times, like just kick it down the pitch. But yeah, like it's it's not the end. Like there's still 90 minutes to go, in the tie. And so hopefully we can get over it. But before that, we have a really important game against Newcastle, which you know, before yesterday's game, if you would have asked Arsenal fans if they're confident about Newcastle, they would say yes. A day later, I see people saying we're going to crumble from here. How do you feel going into the Newcastle game? Like, I don't know what their form is like, but it still feels like it's a little patchy. They have some players coming back from injury. we haven't really done well against Newcastle that much since they've had their takeover and have a new coach and stuff. So how are you feeling about Newcastle now?
Everything, man. I think in life you've got to respect your
Yeah.
opponent. You know, you can't be overconfident. I'm relatively confident with our Premier League form, and I know against Porto, this is almost like a bit of a sobering moment in what's been a high in the last few games in all comps. So naturally, you know, confidence is going to be a bit shot. At the end of the day, we're playing for keeps. We're probably not going to win the Prem or the Champs. And me saying probably is being kind, but you've got it all to play for. You know, probably you need to take all of these points going into a City game to have a chance. The best way to get over a loss is by winning. And that's what we could do. When you asked me that question, the first thing that went to my head is revenge, because I feel Newcastle fans are forcing this rivalry, and I think we cheated ourselves. I think we cheated ourselves at their place. I just want revenge, man. Just win the game. I'm fairly confident. Confidence on a scale of 10, 7. Really, because I expect Newcastle to do what they do, sit back, low blocks, and maybe pick apart our stupid moments, really, which is what I said on your stream a few weeks ago, is that sometimes we can be our best friends or worst enemies, and we have this ability to shoot ourselves in the foot. But, you know, let's just get back with it, man. Really and truly.
Yeah, we definitely just have the ability to change, like to make one loss into 2 into 3, but we can't afford that. And again, that's all mental. It's all mental. It's all mental. We have to have a goldfish memory. Champions League, put it away. Like we have to be able to put that away and put that aside. Like they're 2 separate competitions. We're doing well in the league. There's no reason why a loss against Porto halfway through the tie should mean losing to Newcastle at home. I still feel like it's going to be a difficult game. Newcastle, if anything, are a very awkward team to play against because they tend to get things that they don't deserve, meaning like I feel like the referees really give in to their hard man, like hard English team bullshit, and really it's just bullshit. They tend to get away with a lot of stuff, you know. Bruno Guimaraes, very dirty player, tends to get away with it all the time. I feel like they will have some of the same tactics that were put against us, like against Porto. I feel little mid nasty like block, you know, and we'll find it difficult.
That comes with the territory, man, because what you just said there with Porto and Newcastle, you know, we saw it with, in my opinion, to a slight degree, West Ham, and we're going to have to get with that, really. You know, the best players get kicked, the best teams get kicked. I'm sure if you ask the many great City teams, Liverpool teams, Barcelona teams, etc., Chelsea, even Arsenal, even Spurs, now I'm capping about Spurs, but they get kicked. You get kicked. It comes with it, really and truly. Just do the job, man.
Yeah, exactly. Just get the job done. What changes would you make, if any, to the team?
Well, this is it, just because you don't know if anyone's fit, and assuming, well, I'm not going to assume Partey, but assuming all the names
you're not going to start Emile? He's not the answer?
Well, to be fair with you, I would actually. Now that you said that, he could actually get a start. As mad as it is, I think Kai Havertz should start. I think he should start just because of how I imagine what Newcastle are going to do. I think we're going to need Kai Havertz is a bit of an enigma in himself, but I think we're going to need that. If Zinchenko is fit, or even that, I'm not. I don't know. If Tomiyasu's fit, Tomiyasu starts. Jesus, it depends how many minutes you can give me. Jesus might be a thing. It could be a day to take Martinelli out and put Trossard. I think both of them.
I was just about to ask that. What about Martinelli?
I'm always going to start Martinelli, but one of the two, one of you lot need to come out. I don't want to sound reactionary because generally we've been doing all right until this, but I do think we kind of need to make a change just to keep Newcastle guessing, man. And we've got to remember, like, Newcastle ain't played this week. We've got, you know, we've got 2 games in a week, so I don't know if that fitness is going to play a part. And as you know yourself, the more players you got injured, the more that the existing players are at a risk of getting injured because we're running them into the red zone. So let's just keep it going, man. But I want nothing less than 3 points. I don't care how you do it, just do it, innit? Put it right.
Yeah, I think I'm a little bit different. I feel like I would start Jorginho. I know that he came in and
that's a shout as well.
But he was infected by the same stupidity. Like, I don't know what it is. It was just like contagion. But I feel like starting him from the beginning would give us a little bit of something different, especially since you don't have a passer in Zinchenko at the back. I don't think Zinchenko will be back. So, you know, you have to figure out another way to add a midfielder, you know, and then I think that would open up the opportunity to maybe play Kai Havertz up front, and
that's an avenue.
And take
you never know. I completely forgot about that. Havertz up front against Newcastle. Like, I think we need Havertz, to be fair with you.
It doesn't really matter. like genuinely with our center forward options, it's more about what they're going to offer you outside of goals because none of them are clinical or like a lights out striker. So no Jesus, Trossard doesn't necessarily have that physicality to him. Newcastle are going to be trying to throw their weight around. So Havertz up front, and then you make a decision on Martinelli and or Trossard. And if I'm really honest, I feel like I would maybe drop Martinelli. I know that it feels like maybe I'm singling him out, but he's just not gotten going. And the game against Porto was like maybe his worst in Arsenal shirt.
Nah,
Like,
that's cap. But even that, it all comes down.
yo,
No,
wait,
it's cap, man.
whoa.
His worst game, worst. I've definitely seen him play a lot shitter than he did against Port. He was crap, but again, it comes
That
down
was
to how we've set up.
maybe like in a year. That's the
Is
worst.
that probably even that's more fair? But we've got no left hand side. I'm not cutting no excuses for Martinelli because he's
You
played
just
poor.
did. You just
No,
did.
I don't. No. I didn't cut the excuse. I said I don't think it's his worst game. I disagreed with you saying this is his worst game
No,
in the
but
Arsenal
you're
shirt.
saying that
That's
our
not going to hold
left-hand
up in
side is
a place
crap.
of court, Jess. Huh?
You said our left hand side is crap.
It is crap. It
So
is
you're
crap. You
about
didn't let
to
me
do
finish.
the
It is
he
crap.
doesn't have any support on that side
It
and
is crap.
everything is like
I
weird on that
didn't get to
side.
finish. Didn't get to finish.
All right,
Didn't get to finish.
okay. I'm
Didn't get to
being a
finish.
bad host. Go ahead.
Did it get to finish, Jess? As you said, in this court of law, yeah. Let's stick to what I said. You said, is it going to be his worst? Is it his worst game in an Arsenal shirt? I disagreed with that. That is the cold-hearted facts. I literally said earlier. I said I would drop Martinelli. Let's remember that one. Obviously, Martinelli's been poor. But you look at our left-hand side, there's been so much chopping and changing. Mr. Kai Havertz is not anything like Xhaka. Doesn't play like him, like for like, and he's not an enhancement of that. Zinchenko, for all his faults, you could see with the build-up play, there's been a lot of changes at left-back. Kai Havertz has been an enigma at central midfield, where we said earlier, Odegaard and Declan Rice having to do too much. There has to be, as much as Martinelli's been poor, a correlation as to why Martinelli's playing poorly. There's no ever-present Zinchenko. There's no Granit Xhaka. We have no left-hand side. Even if you drop Martinelli and Trossard comes in and scores, because it's not a Trossard versus Martinelli, you're going to see our right-hand side's a lot better. You know this yourself. Our right-hand side is 10 times above our left. That comes down to the manager. The theme of this live stream, you heard me say, is the gaffer, how we've set up. If that's an error, you're going to have to shoot me, man. Like, I just disagreed with that being his worst game in an Arsenal shirt. Come on, man.
It was just so bad. But okay, fine.
It was shit as well. So if both wingers are being shit,
yeah, but
we know
Saka's played well for like since Dubai, and Martinelli still has not really kicked.
Yeah, he hasn't bagged. He hasn't bagged.
So maybe it's just the fact that he's on the side with Havertz and Kiwi, or maybe it's just
there's too much changing on that left hand side. There's no relationships being built. As much as I feel Granit Xhaka is a miss, I think we waffle too much about Xhaka because we haven't signed someone just suitable on Xhaka's level or better. Like anyone who plays on that left-hand side, I bet you anyone who plays on that left-hand side for a consistent run of games, they're not going to look as good as those on the right, away from the quality. You've got Saliba doing his thing there. You've got Declan Rice pulling over there. Odegaard's got the reins. Come on, man. You watch football. Come on, man. The left-hand side of our football club is poor, but it wouldn't be Arsenal if he wasn't lopsided, man. Allow it, man. I believe you try to slander it. Every week you try and get me for stuff, you know. Like, well, you ain't said nothing about Kiwior today. He's not the Messiah today, is he? Just
but Kiwior was good the last couple of games, so
yeah,
at least he's literally had
because
good
we're
games
reaching
in 2024.
the bar's on the floor.
Literally had a good game in 2024. Martinelli, we're still waiting.
If a dumb kid,
well done, Kiwi.
0 out of 100 now gets 1 mark out of 100. He's so smart. He's great. He's special ed. You're gassing up Kiwior. Like, if we're honest, what has Kiwior? I like Kiwior. Let's rewind this all back now. Just big up disclaimer. Kiwior's been doing his thing. Arsenal fans in the chat, be honest with yourselves. People are clutching at straws for Kiwior and Kai Havertz. What did Kiwior? Big up Kiwior, because I can tell you against West Ham, he earned the corner. He won the header that led to Trossard against Liverpool. And then obviously, I'm sure that, the quick thinking from his thrower for Kai Havertz. Has he been tested?
Game was good, though. Come on, you're talking about
we should be beating Burnley and West Ham. Look at their form. I'm not saying Kiwior hasn't been good. I said you're gassing it. There's two different things.
Good job.
You can't come from Martinelli. I said Kiwior's been good. I said he's been good. I said he's been good.
And I said he's been good. So
the
where's
bar's
the
been
energy?
On the floor.
Where's
the
the
bar
energy?
is on the floor. No, you're gassing
my
him.
bar is never on the floor.
I see the tweets. I'm aware of everything. And plus, you got.
Oh, you got mad because I said Kiwi or Hive were up.
And then you got at Smith Rowe as well with them tweets. Don't think I've got my eyes on everything, man.
Smith Rowe, I mean, his cameos ain't been that much better than anything Kiwior's done, but you guys were gassing.
Name me,
him in between the lines.
Name me one game Kiwior. Okay. Okay, cool. Okay, Jess. All right, I hear that. Name me one decent winger Kiwior has pocketed, and I'm not even getting at you, Kiwior. Name me one. Name me one great 1v1 highlight of the season. Big him up again. I'm on the same page as you.
I'm being devil's advocate. Okay, so. Was Kudus not on the pitch against West Ham?
And what happened before we
period?
And what happened before it? And what happened in that game? And what happened before that game? What happened in that game? We scored the goals. West Ham lost their confidence. What happened just before that? What happened just before that with Kiwior and Kudus? What happened?
What happened? Now you're changing the rules.
Because Kyrill's a special needs you. Like he's had to change the inverted role just for him. Huh?
And you know why you forgot that Kudus was on the pitch? Because Kiwior pocket.
I didn't say I forgot. I said what happened before that. I said what happened before that. Before we scored from our right hand side, what happened with Kudus and Kiwior? I like Kiwior. I'm not slandering him. I'm just saying people are clutching at straws, just like with Kai Havertz.
I'm not clutching.
We want the same common goal, you know. I mean, I know I'm never gonna be. Huh?
Who is people? Not me.
Boy, I see the tweets.
Oh my gosh, you got really rattled by me just saying that Kiwior played well.
I hate this is why I hate social media. Rattled. Kiwior, I just know when certain men are fit, you're not playing in it. I just know you tried to do the inverted thing, it got cut out. And I'm not dissing Kiwior, but clutching at straws. This is Arsenal fans' problem. I apologize for calling Kiwior special ed. Apologies, brands, allow me. Apologies, he's lit. And again, I like him. I just think we're clutching. I'm so sorry, Kiwior.
Oh man, Kiwior, if you're watching, I did not say it.
But Kiwior can jump high, and he's fast over a short period of space. Big up Kiwior, man.
I don't know who said he was fast, but that has got to be one of the biggest lies. Seriously, they said he was so fast during preseason, and I ain't seen fast yet, but. Listen.
The Olympics is coming up. Go represent Poland if you want to talk about being quick and stuff. I like Kiwior. He's found his feet. He weren't terrible yesterday. But going back to it, obviously this is again where Arteta is not got enough not utilizing his tools or hasn't assembled the best tools in the toolbox. Because we tried the Kiwior inverted thing, whether it's a lack of confidence or a lack of ability, he's gone back to being a bit of a traditional one. Benjamin White's gone into midfield in already congested Porto squad, and he's not a central midfielder by trade. So literally what Arteta is doing with the tools that is availability, we're playing into Porto's hands. Before we talk about Porto, take nothing away from how they played, really and truly. Big up Kiwior, may the form continue. And, you know, if Kiwior is never going to dislodge someone in the starting lineup, just prove you're a competent backup, because I'm pretty sure you'd agree there's been times where across the season you would like to pull Saliba and Gabriel out the team. If Kiwior is of a certain standard, you could play centre half. So yeah, keep doing your thing, Kiwior, man.
I think my biggest concern with Kiwior is the confidence level fluctuates.
It needs to stay
too much. Because in the first half he was fine, and then almost like everybody, like it's just like it just crumbled. And I'm just like, you need to be more consistent. Like your confidence can't be based around whether or not the team is slapping up.
There's a lot of volatility.
Yeah, exactly. He's not consistent, you know. So, I definitely agree on that. But with the lack of availability with certain players in that position, I just have to hope that Kiwior can do the job, because that's probably our least consistent position in terms of who we have available, because both of the players that we probably prefer to be playing there are just sick notes, you know. So it is what it is what it is. I get what you're saying, but yeah, I did want to ask you about Pedro Neto, because David Ornstein just reported that Pedro Neto is going to cost 80 million in the summer. Yeah. And that's more than what they asked for the first time that we asked about him. They asked for 60 and we weren't going to do that. Now they want 80. Is he justified being an 80 million pound winger? Just I'm looking at Nico Williams like, listen, get to the carpet, because I mean, I'm not cheap, but that's expensive.
I mean, just as you know, football's gone crazy. It's not correlated to talent. And I think for Wolves, obviously, they're going to want to replace him. They know other Premier League teams have money. You do look at Pedro Neto, the one thing you'd say is injuries, but he's still only 23. He's one of their better players and one of the best performing Premier League players in general. So they're kind of, and they've got him on the contract for a while, innit? So they're saying 80. Maybe they're trying to say, you know what, we'll do it for 50, 60, but we're pricing him out of a move. 80 million. I mean, if you sign him for 80 million and he plays well, never gets injured again, looks like the Portuguese hotshot that he is, nobody cares. But yeah, it probably means shopping elsewhere, because 80 million for Pedro Neto, 50 odd on at least one central midfielder. A striker could be anything from 50, 60 all the way to 100, as well as anything else Arteta wants. It probably means thank you, but myth, man. Maybe there's some negotiating to do, really. Maybe they'll budge on the price. 80 is a madness, though. Absolute madness.
You know what? I
That's
feel like
crazy.
the main problem is, like, for us, is that we already have, like, our established two wingers, and they're probably looking at it like, well, the teams that don't have their established wingers are probably looking for a starter, will be willing to put that money down for somebody that's going to be a starter for them. Where for us, I don't feel like that's really what we're looking for. Now, do I think Pedro Neto could start for Arsenal? Absolutely. I feel like he's that level of quality, but to spend 80 million on a player that's going to be rotating with two others versus like a Manchester United who would 100% need to replace Antony, or Chelsea who don't have like a standout winger in their team, I could see them pivoting towards like, we know those two teams would give us that for a starter, where I feel like because we need a striker, I cannot see the 80 million. That feels so high.
He's probably reliant on Neto to push his price down as the thingy goes on. And I could be wrong, but I'm sure his agent is George Mendes, so it's probably a bit of gamesmanship. Somebody in your comments said Havertz cost 65 million. Neto is definitely worth 80. I hear that, but Havertz is not worth 65 million. We should have never done that, really.
That's what I'm saying. Basing it on that feels
so
a
it
little.
Don't make sense.
Yeah, because we all know that we like max for Kai Havertz, we should have paid like 30. The fact that we were so desperate to give them almost 70 is like insane to me.
This is where Chelsea probably couldn't even believe their luck, really, when they got that.
Exactly. So for like somebody who's going to inevitably become a squad player for us to have given him that high of wages and spent that amount is like insane to me. So no, for me, Neto is not worth 80 million. It's not my money. But knowing how Arsenal operate in the window and knowing that we don't have a clinical striker, I just cannot see somebody that
know that, man. Wolves know people might see that and bulk at it initially, really and truly. So there's probably a bit of gamesmanship being played. It's February, during the summer. Who knows, man? Really, they'll be. I'm not saying they won't get 70, 80, but I think there'll be a bit of negotiating, and maybe it depends on how the deal's structured, man.
Yeah. Last but not least, we haven't spoken since the best bomba was dropped the other day that Arsenal are not looking at Ivan Toney. He will not be an Arsenal player. How happy are you that we are not going to spend any money on a guy that's marginally better than Gabriel Jesus?
Who said that? Who said
that? You know who said it? Because you did a stream on it.
I'm asking that.
You did a stream on it. You know where
I'm asking you. I'm asking you. What stream did I do? Mrs. Officer.
You 100% did a stream on it.
I'm asking the question. I don't know what I did. I'm just asking who said it. Why are you fighting me? I'm just asking who said it, Jess. Who said it?
Ticks, but because you're asking questions that you know the answer to.
No, I'm asking because you told me David Ornstein for Pedro Neto. So I'm just asking what's going on. Again, big up the ITKs and stuff. I don't know, whatever. But on the serious note, I'm a bit mixed about it, as we've spoken about. I'm not,
You should be ecstatic, jumping from the ceiling.
Nah, man, I don't mind Ivan Toney. I don't think he's a difference maker and things like that. Of course, we're not going to get Osimhen, but I've said I'd rather Osimhen and other people. I did think, Ivan Toney is probably the more attainable because obviously, his contract is running down and whatnot. I wouldn't say I'm ecstatic, but it just makes me now think, where are we going to go with it, really and truly? So, I mean, I do think people gas up Ivan Toney a bit, but yeah, it just makes me kind of anxious to see who would be the striker then, really. I know you're happy because obviously you're very big on telling us, Jesus has got he's only got 3 non-penalty more goals than him.
I'm glad you're listening.
Yeah, no, big up the XG merchants, man. Big up the XG merchants.
Listen, all I'm saying is the lessons are coming. I hope you guys are, it's going inside the mind.
So then who's the number one striker then?
I don't know.
For you, no, you do know who you would like. Who is the number one striker, Jess?
It switches like every week. Like,
ooh, wow.
I don't have like a nailed on all the time.
Like your opinion on Martinelli.
So anyways, whatever. You don't even have a favorite because you're always like, I don't
But
know. I'll take any of them. I'll take
but
any of
I'll take
them.
any of them. I would listen. Pause on all of that as well. But Osman would be my favorite target. But nah, man, I don't. Do you know what it is? I don't think there's a striker out there that 100% convinces me. I on one hand, I would like, again, whether we rate Tony or not, but if we're looking at Vlahovic, Tony, Osman, these lot are expected to make an immediate impact. I actually would prefer the Sesco's, the more development ones, but obviously in line with winning a Premier League title, you're going to have to give them scope to obviously grow. And you look at half of the strikers we've been linked with, of course, they're all different and whatnot, but you, as fans, you try and piece together what Arteta wants. And at the same time, as much as clearly we need goals, and Arteta talks about goals, when you look at who's played up front and us signing Gabriel Jesus, are strikers scoring goals necessarily the most important remit? Because I think fans are naive in that. Obviously, Arteta can change his way of playing, but fans that think we're going to sign a striker, you're just going to stand up front. It could happen, but you're just going to stand up front and goal hang and get goals in an Arteta system. I think that's a myth. You see you see what Havertz does, and I'm not saying it to gas up Havertz, but as you said, strikers scoring goals are not the remit. And as you said earlier, it's not necessarily, it doesn't really matter at this moment in time who plays up front. And then are we going to move away from a striker then? Are we going to try and find another winger that's a goal scorer? I wish I had a clue, man.
I'll jump off a freaking cliff. Please go buy a striker. Like,
I think we all need a forward, man.
like,
I think
Jesus.
we all want a forward.
Make me think we're serious. The McChronicle says mine is Xerxes. Actually, he's young and may not approve us right away. What do you think about Xerxes? He's been linked quite a bit. I don't know a lot about him, but when I watch him, I'm like, that looks like an Arsenal type signing to me, to be honest. Like, it just does.
I mean, it's a weird one because strikers are weird. They tend to peak late, and there's been many strikers out there that have looked rubbish or not really looked that good early in their careers and done well. I like Zerky. I think he's a bit raw, though, if I'm honest, and he's not necessarily my cup of tea. But if we sign him, I'm at the point now, just get a striker in. I'll support anyone, really and truly. But Xerxes wouldn't be my first choice, man, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I hear that. Mr. Happy says, is Xerxes better than Sesko?
Not for me.
I feel like it's just... You just don't know how it's going to be applied or how it's going to translate over to the Premier League. You just don't know. But I'd rather take a risk on a non-Premier League proven player that has a high ceiling than the old better over there at Brentford.
Hakeem, why don't you like it? Like, it's gotta be more than just what you've been saying. You're too onto him, man. What's he done?
I don't know. I just don't want him. I don't know. I cannot see him in an Arsenal shirt. Seriously, like I can't. Because it's weird. Because even though like when playing against like Liverpool, watching him, I know that he's just coming back from injury, but suspension. But I just watch him, and I cannot envision him at Arsenal. Like I just can't. And the numbers don't make sense. None of it makes sense. The age, nothing. So,
the age. I disagree with the age one.
The age for the fee and what you're getting from goals. He's not Ian Wright.
I hear that. I just feel, not necessarily you, but I feel in general, people hear 28 and they're like, oh my God, your career's done. Trossard, a player we all like. It's a different role, but he's 29.
You don't like Trossard, so you're not.
I like Trossard. What do you mean? Once again, I said Trossard is the best finisher at this football club, and he's made me look stupid based on yesterday. There you have it. Like, who doesn't like Trossard? Who don't like Trossard? He's lit.
You don't.
I think fans gas him a bit, and when you see performances like yesterday, fair enough. But I think he's quality. You don't like Smith Rowe. You probably had a Smith Rowe.
I knew you were gonna say that, and that's no. I love Smith Rowe. I am the biggest Smith Rowe fan.
I hear that, man. No, I really believe you. I hear that.
Hakeem, thank you so much for your super chat. Says, what you saying about Killy's coming to OT?
Old Trafford, Kylian Mbappe. Well, we can forget about that.
I mean, but like, what? He's not going to Man United, but I don't.
You never know in this world, man. I hope he goes Real Madrid, but I mean, you just never know in football.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, and I guess obviously you have like new ownership that are going to sell you guys dreams and tell you guys everything you want to hear. Like you guys are going to go buy Kylian Mbappe like tomorrow. You have the great Rashford, so I don't know why you'd ever want Mbappe.
Yeah, because
they're clearly on the same level. So, but that's what I've been hearing over the years is they're basically the same thing. So don't know why you'd want Mbappe. Doesn't make sense. Foxy says Santiago Jimenez will be the main one that gets linked to a lot of clubs this summer. Done well at Feyenoord, but a bit overhyped. Don't want that guy either. It's giving Netherlands tax. Like it really is. Like I don't know, something about him. It's not. And a dash of sports. We'll end with this as an overreaction with yesterday's result. What do you expect from Arsenal fans? I feel like when we win,
Facts.
we're the best team in the world. When we lose, the sky is falling. I don't know. You know, I do think it was an awful performance. So it's not like we played great and Porto played great too. And like we just happened to like not get the rub of the green. We
It was group
literally
stage
were
vibes, man.
terrible.
It was Champions League group stage vibes that yesterday, if I'm honest.
Yeah. It was like Lons. Like it
Yeah.
felt a lot like that. So
This was a bit better with the Lons game, and we actually offered
we
something in
actually
an attacking threat.
scored.
Yeah, and we scored. Yeah, there you have it.
Yeah. So this was like our worst showing in the Champions League. So I can understand why people are really disappointed, but you know, every loss doesn't have to be get the pitchforks out. It just doesn't, you know. So
But
it is
like you
what it
said,
is.
it's
But
Arsenal fans, man.
yeah, we don't know how to act. We really don't. We can't be in public, like please. But yeah, so we'll end it there. A little bit of a chit chat. You guys know I already told you that like I don't think I'm going to be available to do player ratings after the Newcastle game, so don't hate me. But we'll definitely do something after I get back home from work. But you guys make sure that you guys subscribe and you know, set notifications for Deluded's channel as well because I'm on
Appreciate
there.
that.
That's the only reason is because I'm on there sometimes, and so you don't want to miss when I'm there. No, I'm just
Hey,
joking.
man. Hey,
No, I'm just joking. Make sure you guys, you know, do all that kind of
man.
stuff for DG as well. And we'll see you guys on the next one.
Come on.
Wait, are we doing a show on your channel right now?
Yeah, not live, recorded.
But not live, so
Yeah,
one's gonna come out
not
like
live.
later. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna go do that. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye, guys.